the Underpowered Hour. On this week's show, we talk about new Range Rovers leaking oil, what J.D. Power and Associates have to say about Land Rovers, and we deep dive into the top 5 projects to improve your workspace. And now, here's the show. Welcome to the Underpowered Hour. I'm Steve Barris, mild-mannered television executive by day and Land Rover collector by night. You can find out more about our cars and what we're working on at thebarriscollection.com or follow us on Instagram at thebarriscollection. I'm joined, as always, by my good friend, Ike Goss.
Thank you to everyone joining us today. I'm the swivels to Steven's open knuckles. I'm the big, shiny balls of podcasting, Ike Goss. I own and operate Pangolin 4x4 in Springfield, Oregon, where we live and breathe Land Rovers. Check us out online on Facebook, Instagram at Pangolin 4x4. Let's get started.
All right, Ike. Well, in the news this week, it's sort of a heartwarming story. A lot of people say the new Land Rovers just aren't like the old Land Rovers, right? That, all
That's
this
fair.
modern computers, you've got, leather. You've got door seals that, work sort of occasionally. But it's nice to know that even with all of that modern convenience, that nearly 7,000 new Land Rover and Jaguars with the P6 3-liter 6-cylinder engine are being recalled because they leak oil. And apparently they leak like not just a little oil, like they can leak a pretty good amount of oil.
This is really a legacy feature. I feel like that, you've got a few legacy features on a Land Rover, little design cues. You got the Alpine windows, you got the hip, in the body. You got certain things that just are unmistakably Land Rover. And where would we be without the classic oil leak?
It's pretty funny. This one is because apparently like a cam carrier somewhere in the oil galley hasn't been completely drilled through. So it's like stopped halfway, and so plugs up with oil and then just overpressurizes and starts leaking. Or I don't exactly know how the leak happens, but
it does describe it in the recall, pretty thoroughly, and so they have to take this piece and replace it with a properly machined piece.
Yeah, man, that doesn't sound like a small fix either. If you have to,
it's not a software update. Although that would be good if it was a software update that you could fix your oil leak. That'd be amazing. Right?
It's just a single overhead cam. Then from then on, they just shut the second one off entirely.
Yeah,
it's fine.
It's fine.
You don't need exhaust. It's all right.
Yeah, no, it's not surprising to see that a Land Rover is leaking oil. So I don't even know why they're recalling it.
It's just how it works. I mean, it's going to leak oil eventually. Well,
it's fine.
It's fine.
Wait a minute. Is this on an EV model?
How is it even possible? Yeah, exactly. They can't get to the all-electric version fast enough. Although it's not that Land Rovers are necessarily known for their high-quality electronics either. So it is. It'll be interesting to see how the all-electric.
I feel like there's a period of time where Land Rover electrics are really good, but then when they start to integrate electronics, it's it's every car of that period. I don't think it's specific to Land Rover.
No, exactly. Yeah, the 90s were not easy on cars and electronics. That blend just didn't. It wasn't smooth. It wasn't smooth.
No, I mean, it's like, are you an early adopter? Because if you are, you're going to have to put up with these early adopter problems.
Yeah, yeah, you're going to have touchscreens that just stop working, or you're going to have something. Yeah, it's going to be.
That's always the first thing that feels really dated in any more modern generation cars, the touchscreen.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you try to use a touchscreen from the early to mid 2000s, it is so aggravating. It's it's like the dial-up of automotive experiences. It's horrible. Oh man, it's just, I don't understand why more people didn't just wreck. Like they're trying to get
my feet heated.
Yeah.
Chris has the generation of Mini that first integrated the little iDrive screen, and I am constantly touching it. It is not a touchscreen, but I am constantly like, why does something say it's not a touchscreen? You got to use this dial down. They've done drive around.
Study after study that has basically, hard underlined the idea that knobs and buttons are not only safer but better functioning than touchscreens.
For sure.
So I think it's only a matter of time for touchscreens kind of, I won't say get phased out because they won't be, but
No.
they'll have more, like fewer features will be integrated into the touchscreen. Because like having to scroll through menus and do all that, I feel like
that's
it's
rough.
horribly unsafe for people to have their eyes off the road and do that.
The F-150 has essentially like a small screen TV just on its side in the middle of the dash. And there's not one thing that you can do, save maybe the hazard lights and defrost, maybe, because I think those are both required to be buttons. Everything else is in that thing. And of course, like a Tesla, everything. Like
Yeah,
you
it's
can't
really
even
bad.
recline the seats and things without going into the touchscreen and doing stuff. So it's it's interesting. Manufacturers do seem to be going that way, which is
It's harder to like
yeah.
feel where the button is if you're not
yeah.
looking at the screen, and
Yeah.
it's hard to feel that like the feedback of the button moving or the dial turning.
Mhm.
And if you have a car and you're familiar with it that has
Fine.
traditional controls, it's you don't have to look at
No,
it. You
no, you
can
just know.
adjust those features without staring at it. But with newer cars, you have to like take your eyes off the road. It's like technology is making us more unsafe in
More
certain ways,
unsafe,
and that's
yes.
one of them.
Yeah. Well, the autopilot will take over and run that person over for you. So no worries.
One of my favorite things is to see the like autonomous stopping like videos where they put like a model child in the street and then like
drag it across
drive the
street.
cars up to them
Run
and
over
see
it.
if it'll stop.
Yeah.
Most of the time it does not.
No, it does not. No. And it's funny. It could be anyone, right? It could be a full-size human being, but they always use like a child in a red
do.
coat chasing a balloon or something.
They do.
You're like,
Yeah.
Jesus, you people are monsters.
Yeah. Based on this feedback, these cars, they want to hit the kids.
Want to hit the kids. Yeah. They have like a bloodlust for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I don't know.
I feel like there's going to be a movie like that.
Yeah.
And with all these autonomous vehicles, you're going to start having country songs where the car leaves the guy.
Yeah. It doesn't need a girlfriend at all. It's just the car.
No,
The car just
no,
leaves.
my girlfriend left, my dog ran away, my car drove away.
Autonomous car left me away.
Yeah, my pickup drove away.
Oh, it's going to be great. I can't
Yeah.
wait. Speaking of the pickup driving away, your good friends at JD Power and Associates have come out with this year's list of quality, reliability, good times having whatever they do. And how did Jaguar Land Rover fare this year?
Well, I haven't read the entire article, but I'm assuming that they did really well. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like maybe it's been a rough few years for our good friends at Land Rover. They've maybe not necessarily had the best of times when it comes to, those type of reliability and, roadworthiness, safety, long-term quality, repairability, not leaking in-ness. It hasn't been great. So if I had to wager a guess, I would say they're sort of maybe a little better than middle of the road.
Well, now that I'm looking at the article, it seems like maybe they have not done especially well in this. I think the way they rank them, and there's a few things to consider here. We can unpack this a little bit.
Yeah.
They rank these vehicles by the number of complaints per 100 vehicles, right? So whether that's a flaw or whether that's a complaint, that's not really addressed. But the industry average is 186 complaints per 100 vehicles. So more than one complaint per
vehicle.
Per
Little
vehicle.
more, 1.8 complaints per vehicle.
And the best is 133 complaints per 100 vehicles.
Right.
So
Okay.
you're still getting, a number of complaints per car. And And Lexus, I think, took the top spot.
Interesting.
Took the top
Fancy
spot.
Toyota. Yeah.
Fancy Toyota, right?
Yeah.
So and Land Rover, they're 273 complaints per 100 vehicles.
Yet. So the average Land Rover consumer is complaining almost three times. About their vehicle.
Yeah. Which, it isn't that much when you consider that, but it is twice the number of complaints for
What's the average. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no,
Yeah.
it's not twice
Or twice.
it's close to twice the
Right.
average.
Yeah. Just
Close to
about.
twice the
Just
average.
about.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it is quite a bit. It is quite a bit. But maybe that says something about Land Rover owners. They're just so discerning that they want everything. Their standards are just so high
That's
that
right.
they want perfection.
They don't
So
want
maybe that's it.
any water inside the vehicle. They don't want any oil dripping
What do they
out of
expect?
it.
What do they
Yeah,
expect? I mean, it rains.
come on,
Rains, they go through car washes. I mean, you can't have
You
everything.
can't have everything. They want both headlights to function all the
Both
time. I mean,
headlights? What?
Come on, come on,
What?
come
That's
on. They would like
unreasonable.
2 key fobs with their brand new car. Come
Yeah,
on.
now they want these cars not to leak oil, apparently.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Most auto manufacturers are going to full electric to to compete with the modern emission standards, right? I think California and states like this are
Yeah.
really putting the squeeze on auto manufacturers, and so I think that's why a lot of them are going electric. Land Rover, on the other hand, just to try to cut down on the oil leaks a little bit, just to take some of that oil out of the car. That's the only way they can figure out how to do it, is just eliminate that thing that leaks oil.
Yeah, there's like always these jokes about like Land Rovers leaking oil, and people have their like Land Rover mugs and they're leaking coffee,
Mhm,
and like there's like so many jokes about Land Rovers leaking oil. And I mean, I don't find the vehicles themselves, the old ones at least that I deal with, to be that much leakier than other cars of the period.
No, exactly. No.
But they certainly have a reputation for that. I've had a lot of old motorcycles that leak really bad just because they're the way they're designed. But I think they don't like the oil leaking for sure.
I'm worried
Messes
about
up
all
their
the
driveway,
motorcycles
messes
that
up
you
their
have
garage.
in your office. That if you were to close the door, you
Mhm.
would asphyxiate from from motorcycle fluid fumes.
Oh,
Like
definitely.
Yeah, don't light a match in there.
You see those
Sure.
you see those old pictures of like guys on motorcycles, and they have like gloves up to their elbows and like boots up to their knees and like
Mhm.
goggles over their face and like oiled canvas,
Yeah.
suits and all. It's because they're just blowing hot oil everywhere. It's like driving a popcorn fryer. It's horrible.
Yeah,
It's horrible. It's the worst vehicular
It's
experience
the
ever, and
best.
dangerous.
Best.
Oh my god! But I love them.
That's
I love
just
them.
great. It is. It's fantastic. My shopmate asked me he has a brand new one of the hybrid EV Jeeps, and his wife wouldn't let him drive their daughter to school because he took the doors off and put the the Jeepy tubey doors, like metal doors.
Yeah, yeah.
And he said, like, what do you like? That seems unreasonable, right? And I said, well, I might not be the best person to ask. I don't see any problem with it at all. I feel like that thing is too enclosed. Like you need to see him fold that windshield down or something. But I have seen people with a new Jeep with the windshield folded down. It looks ridiculous. It just doesn't make any sense at all. It's
Oh, because
clearly
you have the windshield folded down and then the cage is like sticking up above that.
it's sticking up above because it's still there. The cage stayed, and like the corners like of the A pillars are kind of sticking up off the hood. It looks really weird.
I do appreciate that
natural.
they still have a folding windshield, and they do have still some
Yeah.
safety features like a roll cage. So
They do have a roll cage. That's true. You can do
it's
that.
possible. It's
It is
possible.
Yeah, it is. So for today's, again, as we love inventing new segments, we invent new segments quicker than we can forget the old segments that we haven't gotten back to. But this new segment, top 5. So we'll run through the top 5 things in this particular segment, projects to improve your workshop, as both you and I are in a constant battle with workshop improvements / time to work on projects. Oftentimes, a good workshop improvement project can make you much more productive. Oftentimes, it can also just suck up the entire day working on some stupid fiddly little thing. But Ike, what are the top 5 projects for improving your workshop? What's number 1?
Number one, I think, at least for me, we recently moved our shop,
Yeah.
and we are still in the process of outfitting our space to be more productive
Yeah.
and more comfortable.
More friendly. Yeah.
I feel like that, pretty much the two things that were the most important for us is like having a nice floor surface
Mhm,
and
mhm.
and having lighting. Because if you
Right.
can't see what you're doing, or if you're working in a pile of dirt, neither of those two things is ideal,
That's
right?
not nice. No.
Not nice. So lighting was a big deal for us, and
Mhm.
so we replaced all the lighting in the entire building. And it's one of those things that seems easy. You just hang up some lights, right? You just
Right.
go to the home improvement store, buy
the
some
lights.
garage lights,
Yeah.
and it's fine, right? Well, I think we tried to make it harder for ourselves, and so we did a lot of research. And my my lady friend, she is an architect,
Yes,
and so she had a lot to say
I can
about
only
lighting,
imagine.
the
Yeah.
importance of lighting.
Yeah.
She knew all these lighting designers, we got
Mhm,
all this
mhm,
input.
mhm.
And honestly, if you look at the specifications on lighting, like if you go online, go to lighting manufacturer,
Yeah.
and you look at the specs, it's incredible the number of specifications that a light can have.
Right.
Everything from the power usage,
Mhm.
understandable, the
Yeah,
wattage of
makes
the
sense.
light,
Yeah, yeah.
that's pretty standard, pretty baseline.
Mhm,
But then, you've got graphs and charts that show, the overlap of the light
mhm,
based on the height that you
mhm,
hang it.
mhm, mhm.
So different lights work better in different height garages.
Yeah.
So that's something that's important to look at, and how far apart that you space them based on
Mhm,
that overlap.
mhm.
That's important so that you get like an even, distribution
Right.
throughout your workspace, right? Like if
Yeah.
you're walking from your workbench to your vehicle, or your workbench to your welding area, or however you have your particular garage set up, you want to be able to see things you've dropped on the floor,
Yep.
and, have nice bright walls, and, light coming off the ceiling and that sort of thing, so that your work, it doesn't make you tired to work
Right.
in the, visually, it doesn't make your eyes hurt. It's not
Mhm,
too bright.
mhm,
you know Color temperature is another thing that
mhm,
oftentimes people don't
mhm.
consider. I'm sure everybody has worked in an office, or worked in a space, and it's got a horrible fluorescent light, or it's got a incandescent light
Yeah.
with a awful bulb, or an LED
Mhm.
light with just like a
Right, that just
terrible
flickers or yep,
temperature.
yep, yep.
Yeah, and it gives you a headache. It really
Yeah,
does.
yeah.
And if it's a space that you planning to work in and planning to utilize on a regular basis, it really does help, like making
Mhm.
that environment cohesive and comfortable to work in is really going to help your productivity. We did that, and we can talk a little bit about that, but without getting too technical. I mean, when you look at your color temperature, somewhere between 3 and 3,500, even 4,000 is not too bad for your color temperature.
Mhm.
And then if it's like a cozy atmosphere, you want it like in the
Oh, yeah, real
27,
warm, yeah, real
huh?
warm, real warm.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
warmer light.
yeah,
So like 3,000 is kind of the like visual tasks, you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
That's a good temperature for that to be in. And you can go a little warmer than that you can go, I would say 4,000 is I think 5,000 is too much.
That's what I have is 5,000.
You have 5,000?
That's my blue of choice. Yeah, it
That's
is,
you. That's what you like?
it is very daylighty in the, and I have, like, painstakingly changed everything that emits light in my workshop to 5,000. It is
5,000. So
because
you
I
like
can't
that.
stand things that are slightly, like, if something is, like, 4,200 and
Uh-huh.
something beside it is 5,000 and
Yeah.
it looks warmer, it drives me crazy. So even, like, the little, because I have those what used to be halogen downfiring
Mhm.
lights underneath my, one of my, where all my electronic stuff is, all my soldering and everything.
Yeah, I would
Uh,
say
Changed it all.
3,000 is really the minimum. That's
Yeah, yeah, you
like
can't go lower than
you
3,000
can't
to
go
do
without
work. Yeah, I
lower
agree.
than
I
3,000.
agree.
And it is to a certain extent personal preference.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah.
But they have done research on this, and you can read these
Mhm,
things,
mhm,
they
mhm.
have researched this, like what is the optimal temperature for productivity.
Mhm.
And obviously the crisper and bluer and whiter, pretty soon it's like, if
It's
you're
too
not
much,
careful,
yeah.
it's too
Once you
much.
get
You go
above
snowblind in your garage.
you get to, like, 6,500, it's blue, and you walk into anywhere else, and everything else looks orange when you
Yeah.
go anywhere else. But
Yeah,
I
or
have
you
to
or
say,
the
you
it's
can get away with a cooler LED fixture, if it's a high quality one that doesn't flicker and stuff, because
yeah.
unlike fluorescent, it doesn't have any green spike in it, so it
Mhm.
doesn't, like, make you wanna die, like the inside of a Walmart. I mean, that's probably a little bit of the lighting, mostly the clientele, but, like a department store or a big box store that uses those terrible, like, banks of fluorescence. Like
Mhm.
Costco doesn't; they use high bay sodium lights, or actually they're mercury lights. But like the WalMarts are the worst for having those terrible, like 5,500 Kelvin fluorescence, and they're just like a depressing color to be under. And it's green. It's like got a heavy green in it, so it just doesn't feel nice at all.
Everybody looks sick and pallid.
But that could just be because they're at the Walmart as well. I mean, that doesn't. I don't know. It's entirely the lighting.
Well, any rate, I think the point there is it's worth considering the color temperature of the light that you're using, and it is an important consideration.
Did you do tubes or high bay lights?
High bays? We did high bays, and we did high bays with shades.
Oh, nice.
So they're quite bright, but we have these diffusers on them, so it throws some light upwards, and it makes it not so glary when you look up at the light. So you don't have like a little spots when you look away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we have fluorescent replacement LED tubes for the the workshop area, but for the car storage area, for the big warehouse where all the cars are, it's still the original fluorescents that were here when we got the building. So one of these days, I'm going to rip those all out and put high bay lights in there because they're nicer. And I found this 16-foot model of the Starship Enterprise that is being auctioned off that I really want. It's very cheap.
That's like a foot longer than your current 15-foot model.
Yeah, it's a little bit bigger than my current 15-foot Enterprise, and so I think it would look really cool hanging from the roof of the workshop. But I would have to move the fluorescents out of the way so I could, from the second floor from my office, I could look out on the Starship Enterprise. I think that would be.
It would be like cool. It would be like when they're in the repair dock or whatever. It's just the first part of every movie,
every Star Trek movie. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll build a little space dock out there. That'll be fantastic. Maybe I'll just get a big shark or something.
You're such a dork.
You're such a dork.
So I love it. So now wait, I do want to talk just a little bit about task lighting. Like
right, of course, yeah.
Like task lighting. No matter how nice of a light you put in your shop, you're always going to have shadows if you're working inside,
especially with a hood over top of the car that you're under or something.
Yeah. If you're working in an engine bay, working inside the car, you're going to need a work light. And what do you like for a work light, Stephen?
Well, I have a couple different ones. I like the baton lights that have become so popular. The one that I use on a regular basis is made by a company called Astro. You can get it on.
Oh yeah,
Amazon.
I'm familiar with that company.
Yeah,
they make a lot of garage supplies and stuff.
Yeah, they make some cool stuff. And these particular Astro baton lights, they're when I say that, they're like about a 10, 12 inches of LED strips sort of on a little snake arm, so you can bend them right and left. This has a light on both the front of that and the back. So you've got the ability to, and the fun thing is every time you turn it on, you're holding it the wrong way and it shines in your face no matter what you do. It's like a USB plug. Like you should, half the time you should get it in right, but you never do sometimes. It's the same with these. And it also has a little flashlight off the end of it. And you can, they're great. They have a magnetic base and you can stick them places and they light things up. But the coolest thing is they also have a magnetic charger. So my charger is just magnetized to the side of one of my Kennedy stacks, and I can just tap those flashlights on the outside and they will charge up. And they're always, as soon as you hang them up, they're charging, but they don't have to plug in or any of that sort of stuff. So I do like those. I'm a fan of those. I don't have.
So does it have like a base or a support so you can like set it on something that's not magnetic, like maybe a Land Rover that's aluminum?
It does. Yeah. It's got it's sort of, the battery is in the bottom of it. So it's sort of heavy and it'll sort of sit down and you can sort of articulate it. But yes, it is annoying that you can't put it on the body, but you can put it on hood supports and you can put it on the chassis and stuff.
Yeah. There's a lot of metal brackets and fasteners.
Yeah. I use them pretty heavily underneath the lift. So I'll put them underneath the lift, shine them up into the car, and then drop the lift on top of them and crush them. That's
oh, nice.
Yeah, I haven't done that with one of the nice ones, but I have done that with some of the cheaper ones. Just smash them into the ground, like it's obliterate them.
I'll have to be honest. There's definitely something to having that performance and price balance with a work light, because these are things that do see a lot of abuse. And one of the ways that my particular lights are abused is they're left magnetized to a vehicle. And the vehicle gets returned to its customer. And so it's they have a new light, but
it comes with every
complimentary light. But then, as the weeks progress, you're like, I think we had 20 of those lights and now we've got about 12. So
where did they all go?
Where did they all go? Yeah. Oh yeah, they left.
We
cars.
gave them away.
Yeah. So one of the ones that we use is a Bauer magnetic work light that you can purchase at Harbor Freight. And
Yeah.
it's like their premium brand or
Yeah,
whatever.
I'm trying to
I want to say
remember
it's
how
like
much it is.
$25 or something like that.
It's more expensive than you would think something at Harbor Freight would be, but cheaper than anything else you can find.
And it's like a machined aluminum housing. It has a
Nice.
rechargeable battery. It's
Yep.
LED. It's got a flexible
Little,
uh,
little doodle.
light. It
Mhm.
basically bends in the middle,
Mhm.
and it's got a number of LEDs. It's bright.
Yeah.
The battery lasts a good long time.
Yep.
It plugs in. It's not a magnetic charger. That would be nice.
Mhm.
And it is a useful light, and people ask about them all the time. But get the warranty because it has a plastic hinge, and you will drop them, and it will break, and you'll
It's
have to replace it.
often one of those things that you can get with the 20% off Harbor Freight coupons
Oh,
too.
that
So you
too.
can,
That
yeah,
too. Yeah,
you get one.
you can get them on sale.
Oh yeah,
They're pretty inexpensive. It's a good performance price balance
I agree.
product, and we use a lot of them. We have a few other lights. We have like the wands. It's like it looks like an LED
Lightsaber.
curtain rod,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you will.
yeah.
We have a few of those that you
Mhm.
can stand up or lay down or whatever. We have a couple other plug-in,
Mhm.
really super bright, work lights. But those are the ones that we use the most of. Those little Bauer ones. They're
Yeah.
pretty.
Yeah,
They're
they
pretty
are
good.
pretty good. I have a few of those too. I like those. I like those
Oh,
quite a
nice.
bit. Yeah, pretty much exclusively the wand style lights now. I don't have. I have a couple of the floodlighty ones. I don't have one of those big lightsaber curtain rod ones. I should maybe think about getting one of those. But yeah, I like the especially if you do any amount of video shooting around the projects that you're working on. Having those little lights positioned everywhere is
Oh
definitely
yeah.
do
Yeah.
definitely do a bit of that. Speaking of the charging of those things, then we'll circle back to the
Sure.
floors and the cleaning them. But a really nice thing and something that you're not going to do unless you say I'm going to spend some time and I'm going to do this is setting up what we like to call the central power dock, which is a place where you can plug in all your tool batteries, your flashlight batteries, maybe your cameras if you have GoPros and things. I am the worst for having things in little clusters plugged in all over the friggin' place, and it's just stuff hanging from the roof. It's terrible. So finally, I'm in the process of rebuilding all my DeWalt tool storage stuff. I bought into that camp, and there's no going back now. It's like
That's not true. You can get an adapter that'll put a Milwaukee battery
I know
on
you
your DeWalt tool or
can,
vice versa.
it feels too far afield for me. But anyways, one central place I have now set up for all of those batteries. They all charge. The chargers are right above where the batteries, once they're charged, go. And the same thing with the GoPros. I've got one of those USB octopus things with 9 little USB things sticking out of it, and just able to plug in all the cameras, plug in all the DeWalt batteries, plug in the flashlights. They all sort of have their own little hubs now where
You're a big fan of docking? Is that what you're saying?
I love docking. Big fan.
Don't Google
Big
that.
fan. Don't Google that. Yeah, no, don't. You're not gonna get it again. It's in the Starship Enterprise kind of docking. That's yeah. So
I
mhm,
see.
mhm. But I think that's a handy thing that is one of those projects where if you want to make your life a little bit easier, setting up one place where all of that sort of shit lives, all your batteries live, and then they're always charged. That's really nice.
Now, a lot of newer toolboxes, the rollaway toolboxes, they come with what they call a power drawer.
True.
And the power drawers have outlets and USB, etc. in them. So you not only can you store your tools in there, but you can also charge your
Charge
batteries.
them up, yeah.
And it's not like a docking area,
Mhm.
like you say. It's
Well,
all
it sort of is a
kind of
docking area.
enclosed.
It's just an inclusive docking
It's
area.
it's enclosed. It's in its own little zone.
Yeah, those are cool. And I'm also, a fan of, obviously you don't want to drill holes through your nice Kennedy stack or something, but of just putting a power strip inside of a drawer and having things plugged in so that even if it's a total disaster, you can just close the drawer. And at least
Yeah.
the disaster goes into that drawer. And there might be 90 cables and 14 GoPros and a Hydra worth of shit in there, but you can just close the drawer and you don't see it anymore. And it's all good. But for me, trying to get into the habit of put the tool away when you're done using it and charge its battery.
Yeah.
Put the flashlight away when you're done using it and charge its battery. That's made ever more easy by having an area where you can actually do that. That's
Yeah, and when you go to Linus's, he doesn't have any power tools.
he
There's
doesn't have
no
batteries. No
there's no
batteries, no.
battery powered
No.
tools. It's all bits and braces,
Yeah,
hand drills.
hand drills. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely,
all that kind of stuff.
you don't have to
No,
worry about it. Yeah. Yeah,
No,
he
nothing.
isn't.
You don't recharge anything. You just eat more food.
You just eat more food. It's
Yeah,
self-power. Yeah, you just
self-powered.
get tired. We often joke that Linus was the victim of like a Victorian era time traveling accident, and he's just been trying to get home ever since. Doesn't like the modern world. All these, yeah, he doesn't understand it. It's just not.
Yeah, the first time he came into my house, I turned on a light. He just like cowered
He
for
just
like
started
20
screaming. It was weird. Yeah. Yeah, he's adjusting. He's adjusting to modern life, but slowly. But back to cleaning stuff. So one thing that, as many people know, I've invested in, and I think is the bee's knees, such as it is the automatic floor scrubber. My little floor
Yeah,
Zamboni.
I'm pretty
Oof.
jealous about the
Oof.
floor Zamboni.
Oh, it
That's,
works so good.
Do you have a guy that does it for you?
No, I'm thinking about getting one though, because it's like mowing your lawn, right? It's like fun the first few times, and then it's
Sure.
work. So we're at the point now where it's work, but that's okay. I did modify my floor Zamboni, which I didn't get the battery powered one because I'm cheap and I didn't want to get it. It felt
Yeah.
that's too much. But I, like many people, have a sort of camping power pack. I have an EcoFlow one that can run your table saw or whatever you need to do. And it works super good. It can run the floor scrubber, the floor Zamboni, for a full 20 minutes, which is more than enough for me to do the whole floor off of the EcoFlow. And I'm not tethered to the wall. I don't have to drag the cord around anymore. It's pretty great. It's a pretty nice system. Now, if you have thousands of square feet of space that you have to clean, an automatic floor scrubber really does make a big difference. Like, it is really a lot of work. It's very time consuming to mop a space as big as our space is. So not everybody needs a floor scrubber for their 2-car garage, but they're pretty cool. I am a big
I think
fan.
having your workspace clean is important,
Mhm.
whether you have a small garage or you have a big warehouse. Sweeping is one of those things that is it's an ongoing task. It's not just a
Yeah.
one and done. It's not hanging up lights. It's not doing that. It's an ongoing process. And the easier you can make it, the better it's going to be. So if you have whatever you've got, a push broom, a regular broom, a dustpan. One of the first things that I made for my first shop, it was also one of my first TIG welding projects when I got my first TIG welder, was building a really nice dustpan. And if you go to like a home improvement store and you look at the dustpans, they basically have two different kinds. You got an aluminum one, which is not too bad.
No,
and
it's
then
not.
they have
It's okay.
a variety of plastic ones.
Yeah.
And the plastic ones, even the best quality plastic ones, typically break and crack and are ruined within a very short period of time. The aluminum ones tend to bend, and then the edge isn't flat with the floor,
anymore.
and it's hard to sweep into it.
Mhm.
They have a tendency to do that. So I made a steel one, and then I sharpened the leading edge of it so that it was really, close to the ground.
Yeah.
And I still use it to this day. I think I
Mhm.
made it 15 years ago, and it's amazing. You can, that little piece of gum or tar or whatever, you can
just
use
gotta
it to scrape that off. You can sweep a big heavy pile of dirt or rust flakes into it, and it doesn't deform and get all wonky. It's
Chop carrots with it if need be.
It's great. It's
Yeah.
amazing. And so I still find that to be a handy cleaning device. It's really a nice thing. A good dustpan.
Yeah,
It
good
seems simple,
dustpan.
but it is really a time saver.
Yeah,
So whether you need a floor Zamboni
Yeah, you got
or a dustpan,
or a dustpan.
yeah, no, I think that stuff is good.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And a little vacuum.
The little vacuum, the handheld vacuum. Oh, and you know what I use, and you used as well, I know, is a leaf blower. A
Leaf blower
works
is good.
Yeah, leaf blower works real good. You can just kind of blow everything out the door. And that works good if you've got a home, just in your garage or whatever. You can just blow out onto the street, into your neighbor's house, into your neighbor's open garage, whatever. That's that's handy. That's a quick time saver. And I have trees and landscaping around the back of the workshop. So the second you open the door, all of that comes into the shop. And so it's nice to be able to fight back by blowing it back out there. That's nice. So what about how about little parts and little fasteners and things like that? How do you store that stuff?
This is one of my favorite things, and also one of the things that is just so time consuming and can get very tiresome. And I have a lot of small parts.
Yes.
I often tell people if I sold every part that I had for $1, I could retire very comfortably, because there are thousands and thousands and thousands
parts,
of little tiny parts,
Yeah,
little washers, little nuts, screws, tiny little electrical pieces, switches. I have hundreds of thousands of those kinds of small components for Land Rover vehicles. And so organizing them is important. And I like the old parts bins. I
Yeah.
like them.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about this the other day on the Vice for Vices, or it might have been Vice for Vices or Mexa Shop. That guy had like a really cool Victorian parts bin that was really neat.
Yeah,
Had
yeah,
like
yeah.
a just cast iron,
I think it was
very
Vice for Vices, and then that's
incredible.
some cool because he's got a lot of neat
Incredible.
Vice displays as well, like
He
retail
does.
displays, which
Yeah.
are really cool.
I use a few different things.
Mhm.
I have Equipto,
Mhm.
which is kind of a 50s pressed metal
Yep.
drawer system. I
Yep.
have a number of Equipto units that I use for small parts. Those are good. They come in a variety of sizes and shapes, but roughly they make units that are about 3.5 feet long and about 18 inches tall and 2 feet deep. And you can stack them. You can, they have different size drawers for different parts and then dividers within those. So those are good for like medium sized parts. I would say that's like a thermostat, hose clamps, those sorts of things. Amazing for that. You got all those little dividers. We also have 2 addressograph cabinets. And the addressograph was a system of plates that these companies used, like mail order companies would use them. And they had an actual physical plate that they used to print every address in their company's database.
No,
If
it's
you
a
will.
date
It was
made of metal.
pre-database. It was basically a database. So it's kind of like a card catalog, if
Yeah.
you will.
Yeah.
But all the
Metal.
drawers are brass and they have dividers in them to divide these nameplates. And they're incredibly heavily built because all of those plates were little steel plates.
Yeah.
And so basically you had 2.5 by 6 inch wide by 2.5 inch high bricks of steel. And each cabinet had 133 of these. So you can tell that they, when they were in use, they weighed thousands of pounds, these cabinets. And so they can support all kinds of hardware. And we use those for tiny little screws, tiny little washers, all that stuff because of the dividers. And they have labels, so you can label them. So that's good for like small transmission parts, little screws, shims, all that sort of stuff. So we use those. You can find them on Craigslist every once in a while. They made them in different sizes for different size companies. And they're super cool and they're incredibly well built.
Yeah, they are heavy.
You can pick them up with a forklift.
Yeah. You have to. I don't think a human being could lift it. It's so heavy. It's crazy.
They're cool. They're super neat, and they will hold all the hardware that you would ever want in a pretty compact space.
Yeah, it's not bad.
So in terms of like metal cabinets for medium and small parts, we use that. We also have some rolling shelves that we got out of a Build-A-Bear that was in the mall.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And that's good for like, boxes of parts.
All your bear parts.
That's probably, maybe a little bit more involved than the home enthusiast would want. But those Equipto bins, those are often available at like on Craigslist or eBay. You can buy those all the time. The addressograph bins you can get in different sizes. So anything that's suitable for like a home garage. If you really want something high end, those like Lista cabinets those are super nice. Stanley also made their own line of those kinds of drawers. And they're basically for workshop tooling, parts, aircraft industry parts supply, that sort of stuff. Those Lista cabinets, generally used ones are $100 a drawer. So if you get a 9-drawer cabinet, $900. Yeah. But sometimes you can find them inexpensively on like government surplus or one of these types of websites. You can get those parts storage cabinets. How about you? What do you use?
Well, I have like a version of the Sortimo, which is an Italian brand of, essentially, think about them as a thin toolbox, right? That have about 20 little individual bins in them that you can take out and you can take with you. And I've got, I don't know, I have 60 of them. I don't know how many. I've got a lot. I got way too many. But I, for the stuff I use all the time, underneath my sort of one of my main workbenches, I've built a like index where they can all slide into. And I actually use the Harbor Freight medium portable parts bin as my sort of go-to for that. Everything is built around that size and shape. And I can 3D print little bins that go in it if I want bins that have little dividers or if I want bins that are different shapes and I have everything, in there. I have, probably 4 of them, maybe 5 of them dedicated to just metric fasteners. I have, probably the same again in Imperial fasteners. I
Mhm.
have 2 or 3 just for sharedized hardware. I have one for all of the different little fiddly electronic bits, little bulbs, light bulbs, and fuses, and all that sort of stuff. And I have them for all the different cars and all their different expendables, fuses, and stuff like that. I have pieces for my rapid air, click fit air supply stuff, all kinds of stuff in these boxes, and they come in a sort of a 1 unit high or a 2 unit high version. And the little boxes, I suggest buying because they're really cheap. They're I don't know how much they are, but I want to say they're like about $10 for a box. And you buy them in like, again, you buy 5, 10 of them at a time. And everyone comes with a little, a medium, and a large bin. But oftentimes you want one box that's just the large bins, or you want one box that's just the tiny bins, or some kind of mix. And if you get a bunch of them at once, you can kind of mix and match and end up with a sort of, a set of bins that are just perfect for what you want. And then I label the handles of them so that when they're in my index, I can see I've got about 5 rows of indexes underneath my workbench, and then I've got one whole cabinet full of them as well. And so that's the stuff that I don't use quite as often. Little fiddly bits, parts for proton packs or whatever. They all have their own little boxes, and then all the stuff that I use all the time is in those. And that's super handy, but it is an epic undertaking. How many of those little plastic, variety sets of cotter pins do you have? And they're in like their own little fishing tackle box, and you got to go like find them in whatever drawer they're in and then sort through and get the right one. And so to take all of that apart and put it all into a dedicated index and label it all, it's a huge job. But then the next time you go to get a cotter pin, it takes you about 90 seconds to find it,
I
which is huge. It's a
I
huge
do
time
like
saver.
those
Yeah.
those bins, and I do have they're usually like a clear top
Yeah.
and black
Black
and then
and
yellow
yellow
bins.
bins.
Is
Yeah.
that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. The
Yeah.
Sortimo ones, all the bins are different colors. So every size
Oh,
has
that's
its
fun.
own color. So you can order it based on like, oh, I need more red ones, which are the biggest ones. Or I have a couple of those sort of more ones, but they're just too expensive. They're, I think, about $40 just for the case.
Mhm.
And that would, with a number of those that I have, that would be $500,000.
There's a
So,
there's a similar system that is used by a lot of fastener supplies.
Mhm.
So I think Lawson
Mhm.
sells them. A few other companies that deal with fasteners, Worth I
Mhm.
know
Mhm.
sells them,
Mhm.
and it's like a rack of those style
Right.
of bins, but they're metal. And
Mhm. Yeah.
so not only does it serve like they serve as a drawer,
Right.
but each drawer can be then
Can then be taken
removed,
out. Yeah.
and then each one has like a plastic insert, and you can pull all your little things. And we have one of those for like wiring supplies.
Mhm.
It's got terminals and connectors
Yeah.
and, fittings and all that sort of stuff for doing the electrical rewiring jobs that we do. And that's another one that's pretty handy. And you can find those used inexpensively. I think sometimes in the $40-$50 range, you can
Yeah.
find those
Yeah.
units. They got 4 or 5 drawers, and each drawer is then removable, and you can put it back so you can use it in place, or you can take it with you to a project.
I like the being able to take it out and take it with me somewhere. And like,
Yeah.
if I'm working on an 80-inch or something, I'll take the whole sharedized box with me because
Yeah.
you need 5 or 6 different sizes, plus you need the washers, plus you need the nuts, plus you need and it's just all there, and you don't have to keep walking, especially again, if you've got a really big space, trying to figure out a way to prevent you from having to walk from one side of the workshop to the other every single time you need something. I'm still working on that. I certainly haven't mastered that. I'm working on zoning more and more, but I can't help but need something that's over in the machine shop, and I'm underneath a car, and I've got to take a 2-minute walk to get over there and get something, and that's kind of annoying. And then you inevitably you stop along the way, something else comes up, you get like whatever, and you never kind of get, it takes forever. So anything that I can do to optimize, the amount of retrievability, that's very helpful. And I'll say last point on that tool storage is probably, if there's a number one of the 5, storing tools in a way that makes sense, that they're easy to find. That's a huge thing. That's something that I struggle with.
So where would you rank that?
Well, I think probably because you use your hand tools more than kind of anything else. Like, I mean, how often do I use my vibratory saw? Like I know where it is and whatever. But like I'll use a 10 millimeter
I
box
feel
ended
like
wrench.
you use that
Use
tool
all the time,
more than
but not
you're
for
willing
sawing.
to admit.
Not for sawing. more the vibratory side. But, you use that 10 millimeter box end wrench all the time. And so having that set nicely in, I have
Mhm.
my Kennedy stacks, sitting in front of the lift so that, the things that I need to get to all the time. And then I have my service cart, which is a trick I got from Chris's family is all airplane mechanics. And they build like these custom, you've seen my little undercar rack thing. They build like these very custom, and of course, because they're airplane mechanics, it's all aluminum and they're all riveted. Mine is made out of plywood. But, they take like a rolling toolbox and the cart style ones, and they like build these big sort of like hoods on top of them with all their tools hanging there. And like they're in this incredibly like efficient retrieval mode where like the things that they use all the time because they have to turn these airplanes around so quickly, they've got it all set up in such a way where they can very quickly find and see the thing that they need. And nothing's really in a drawer if it doesn't need to be. And the things that you need are all hanging in front of you. So I try to do a little bit of that, but having a good way to store those things is huge. And for me in the machine shop, having all my milling tools and everything in not just in a drawer, like 1,000 end mills all dumped into a drawer. There's this company that I love. They're a little American company and I think still family owned and run. I'm not exactly sure how you pronounce it, but I think it's Schouler, Scheller. And they make these little red plastic boxes. And they're not really designed for anything except that they are kind of, I think, designed with an eye towards Kennedy stack style tool chests. And you can basically, you measure the drawer and then you can get a little box at almost any increment, a 1x2, a 3x2, a 5x7, a 1x2, a 1 by, and in two different heights. So for deep drawers and for shallow drawers. And especially for like machine shop tooling, drill bits, things like that, you can get these sort of like long and skinny ones, and you can have your 5 end mills of one kind in this. And, if you have a lot of indexable tooling and stuff, you can have all the little bits all in little zones next to each other so that like, there's my fly cutter and here's all of the inserts for that fly cutter. And here's the little star end Allen wrench that allows me to change those inserts. And it's all right there. But when I close the drawer, it doesn't all just sort of slide all over the place. It's all really nicely registered and sort of, you don't have to do all the foam and the prep. It's really easy. They just come in a box and you just sort of stick them in the, kind of Tetris them into your drawers. And I really like them. They're super handy and it allows you to open a drawer and quickly see everything, in a way where it's all where it's supposed to be and you can start remembering where things go. And I love those things. Those things they're super handy.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah,
I'm going to have to check those out.
Get some. We'll get you some tiny little red boxes. I also love French cleating things. So it's like a carpentry thing.
Yeah.
I have a lot of anything that's wood in my workshop has like French cleats on the outside of it so that I can hang, I'm in the process over this weekend of renovating a cabinet that I've had for a long time that I made in my old shop. And we put a door on the front of it and we're going to French cleat the front of it so that I can put all of my silly DeWalt tools that, I don't use that like my vibratory saw. I can have ready access to it. Quick retrieval of the vibratory saw. It's very important.
We never know when you get the urge.
I 3D printed some little hangers that have the same same shape as the battery, so you can just kind of click them on like they like clicking them onto a battery, so that they can hang on there very nicely and everything else.
That's awesome.
But that sort of thing, like not having to dig through a cabinet to like find the stupid blade for your vibratory saw for 2 hours while you're trying to do something. It is nice. It is
nice.
Saves
nice. That'll be time saved. There's some upfront investment in these sorts of things that really, will make your time spent in your workshop and your projects go faster over time.
Yeah, exactly. So, while top 5: tool storage, parts and fasteners index, lighting, cleaning stuff, and a way to charge all your stuff. Essential power dock. Those are our top 5 for today, but I think you could probably go on for forever. I think you could.
You're always trying to make your space better, right?
Yeah, there's no end to it. Anytime you think we're getting ready to put the plasma table in, and so that has caused the need to prioritize some things. We got rid of one of the extra work tables.
Got rid of the grand piano.
That had to go.
It's unfortunate.
Unfortunately, the chocolate fondue fountain had to go. Which is too bad. I mean, it's mostly full of sawdust and metal shavings, but
the crane game.
Yeah, the digger machine that we had, unfortunately, had to get rid of that.
It's a real shame.
Yeah, it is a real shame, unfortunately. But yeah, you got to make room for that plasma table. So now we can make all kinds of dumb little brackets and things that we could have very easily just ordered online in the same amount of time and probably less money. But whatever. That's not what it's about. It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's about being able to do it right this second and then having to do it 5 or 6 more times because I did something wrong. So, that's how it is. That's how it is. It's an iterative process. Well, at that, Ike, I think that's it for this week. This is a serious top 5. That's an intense top 5. So hopefully that will give.
We'll do it again.
Hopefully it'll give you some tips on
next
improving
time. It's
your
gonna
own
be a
space.
top 6.
Ooh, the
Top
6th
6.
one is fridge dedicated to Jell-O molds. I think that's a
no.
But and if you guys do any interesting workshop improvement projects, throw it on the old Facebook group. We'd love to hear about it. We're getting some great Valentine's Day stories. A lot of people really deeply in love with their Land Rovers in a way that doesn't feel healthy all the time. Like it doesn't. Most of them from Linus, coincidentally. I mean, several different ones, which is interesting. But yeah. Anyway, that's out there. So we'll have to come up with another interesting top 5. Again, if you have any interesting top 5s and you want to share them with us, we'll entertain your top 5. Throw it out there. Let's see what happens. I mean. We're willing to do anything once,
Worst we could say is no.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. Well, it's been a slice as always. We'll see you next week.
All right. See you in the shop. Take care.
The Underpowered Hour is produced by Liza Barris, Ike Goss, and me, Steve Barris. Pavel Svardov composed and performed our theme music. Consider supporting the show on Patreon, and if you already do, thank you. Your support makes the show possible. For even more, check out our Instagram or Facebook.